This next question is a great one, and it comes from Super Jason K in Pasadena, California, one of my favorite places in the country to watch football at the Rose Bowl. I know it's like a really dated stadium, but I love that place. Jason's question is, how long does a buyer have to back out after making an offer? There's two things that I want to give you right now, Jason. Number one, when they're negotiating the deal at any given time, the buyer can walk away for any reason with no notice or with instant notice. Until that contract is executed. So let's say that the buyer writes an offer for $1 million in Pasadena, sends it over to you. You're the seller. You're the listing. You're the, you own the home. And they tell you in the contract that they're giving you 3 days to respond. And maybe the offer is not favorable. Maybe you're talking it over with your wife or your husband or, whatever. And 2 days into it, you're like, you know what? I think we're going to counter, but I don't really know how we're going to counter. We'll see how this goes. And then all of a sudden you get an email from the buyer's agent that says, hey, they've withdrawn their offer. That's totally okay. They can do that. They can withdraw the offer at any given time. Now, if you sign that offer, meaning you accept it in its current form, then we have a binding contract, right? So if they offer $1 million with a 30-day close with $30,000 in earnest money, 20% down, and here are inspection and appraisal contingencies, if you unilaterally accept that contract and no counter, and you sign it and you deliver it to the buyer, right? This is really important. It has to be delivered, right? And that's why we do email. We don't do anything vocal. I do everything over email. We don't hand deliver it. We don't mail it. Everything is over email because it timestamps everything. Once it is delivered to the buyer's agent, as long as it is executed completely, the buyer is now in a contract. That doesn't necessarily mean they can't cancel, right? There's a couple things that can happen right now. Number one, they could not reach, they don't have to deposit earnest money. If they don't, that makes that contract null and void, because the actual start of escrow starts when there's consideration or earnest money. So whatever that earnest money is agreed on that contract, that has to be deposited at escrow, not given to the listing agent, not given to the buyer's agent. It definitely doesn't get given to the seller, right? But it has to be deposited in escrow. And once escrow has a fully executed contract and a check in hand that they can deposit, normally it's in the form of a wire or certified funds or a certified check, then escrow is open, and now the terms of the contract are officially enforceable. At that point, the buyer can still walk away and get a refund on their earnest money if they find anything that they disapprove of during the 17-day contingency period. Meaning they could do a basic home inspection and maybe there's a crack in like one of the trusses in the attic, or maybe there's a sloping issue or a foundation issue or anything like that. They could ask you to repair it. They could ask you for a credit in lieu of a repair. That would be fine. Or they can say, hey, we did the home inspection and we just don't approve of the home. We're going to move on. Hey, we got the HOA docs during the 17-day contingency period, and we don't like how the HOA is not solvent right now, or we don't like where the HOA is going, or we don't like the HOA fees, or we don't like this. That's obviously nothing you really can fix. So they have the ability to leave and get that earnest money completely refunded to them. Now, outside of all of that, outside of all of the contingencies in the purchase contract, if they just decide that they get cold feet, that would be considered a breach of contract. Like maybe they miss close of escrow or anything like that. If that were to happen, they could still cancel, but they would be subject to their earnest money plus up to 3% of liquidated damages, depending on how that cancellation happened. That's why we always recommend that buyers never put more than 3% down as earnest money, because that's liquidated damages as it is in the contract. And I know you didn't ask this, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Keep in mind, we use the California residential purchase contract if you're in California. Arizona has one. Las Vegas has one. Most states have a state-driven real estate purchase contract that is full of standard language. Even though it is standard language, a contract is a contract. So you can cross out what you don't like. You can add what you want. You can remove. You can take away. A contract is a contract, and most states are contract law states. And what that means is, if you have something written on a piece of paper that says, I agree to pay my wife $10,000 a month every single month for 24 months, or this is what happens, and you both sign it, that is a legally binding document that is suable, right? So just keep in mind that if you ever have any questions around what money is due when, or what dates, or how protected am I, all of that fun stuff, always go back to the contract. Always go back to the contract. That's really important. So they can cancel anytime during the negotiation process unless it's unilaterally signed. And then during the contingency period, depending on what state you're in, if they find anything that they disapprove of during that contingency period, they can walk away, get their earnest money completely refunded, and move back. So it's really important. If you're thinking about selling your home, I would invest in the repairs up front. Like, you know what's wrong with the home. Like, you know that this part of the paint is bad, or maybe you got termites over here. And like in Southern California, especially at the coast, like everybody either has termites or they will get termites soon. So if you go through an inspection and the home comes back with termites, like, don't freak out. That's totally normal, right? You know what's wrong with the home. So deal with all that stuff up front, because if it's not obvious to the buyer when they write the offer, I promise you 100% it is going to come up during the inspection negotiations, and you're going to pay more for the repair then than you would have paid for up front. So if you know something's wrong, I would definitely deal with it up front. That's going to make it a little easier for the buyer to stay committed and get all the way to close of escrow. Great question, Jason. Any questions, let me know below, all right?